Hello everyone, this is Just a Dad. Today I'm going to show you this Nespresso VertuoLine coffee maker, espresso machine. I'm going to show you that you can program how much coffee you get out of those pods. Now the default setting for these coffee pods is 7.7 ounces. So let's say you're like, oh, 8 ounces or 9 ounces would taste okay to me. So I want it up to about here. This machine will let you program a little bit more water through the same pod every time. And then I'm going to show you how. So say you want to get it back to the factory defaults. There's also a way to get it back to the factory default settings. So this is the standard. This is the factory default. And I'm going to show you how to make one a little bit bigger than that. So we're going to put our pod in, close it. Now, normally you would just press this and walk away. Now what they want you to do, if you want to set this quantity, you're going to have to stand here and hold this button the entire time. And then you're going to let up when it's reached the quantity you want. So I'm going to hold it. This is going to take a while because these things take a little bit to brew. So your finger gets a little sore. But let's say you wanted less than the 7 ounces. So you could program it, so say I wanted it to stop there. I could just let up my finger and it would stop there, and then every time I put a coffee pod in, that's where it would stop. But I'm gonna say I want more out of this coffee than this 8 ounces. So again, I just keep holding the button down. You can do this for espresso pods too. So the smaller pods, they do espresso shots, which is about 1.3 ounces. So if I had an espresso pod in here, I could do the same thing with that. I could get it to be a pretty big size too. So again, I'm just holding this down. Now that coffee's getting pretty weak coming out of it right now. And I'm going to keep holding it. I want it to show you that it can be noticeably bigger than that one. Okay, I let up on the button. Now it's kind of doing its finishing where it sounds like an airplane. And there you go. So now this is a noticeably bigger cup of coffee than the standard. This is the standard here. I held the button down to get a little bit more. Again, say this is too weak for you. You could do the same thing, but then just let up on the button when it's about here. And then every time you put a coffee pod in, remember these pods, you're either going to have a coffee pod or an espresso pod. The espresso pods are pretty small, pretty noticeably different. And so that standard is about 8 ounces through a coffee pod. So if you want it to be smaller, every time, and they read it by this barcode on here. So every time you put a coffee pod in now, so since I've programmed this, every time I put a coffee pod in, it doesn't matter if it's green, blue, whatever coffee pod I put in now, that's what it's going to brew through there. It's going to be a lot more than the standard. So now let's say I want to go back to the factory defaults. I'm going to show you how to go back to the factory defaults. First, let's get rid of the pod. Okay, so I'm just going to go by the manual, reset to factory settings. This is going to reset the programming the water volume, what I did earlier. So you're going to push the button 5 times within 3 seconds. So the pod is ejected, we're done brewing, the handle's in the middle position. So I'm just going to press this 5 times, and what's going to happen is the button will blink slowly 5 times to confirm. So I want to watch and make sure that blinks to make sure it's done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our slow blinks, yep. Okay, so it did 5 slow blinks, and now it's back on steady. So now this is back to factory defaults. Again, when I do an espresso pod puts out a really small quantity. Puts out 1.4, got like 1.3, 1.4 ounces. So again, I could make an espresso pod come up a little higher or a little lower. And same with the coffee. So I hope this video helps. I've got several videos on like a detailed how to make coffee with this. I'm going to do a video on how to descale it. If you could, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.